Hi everyone. Welcome to the live streaming of the update on immigration issues during COVID-19. So hopefully all of you can see me okay. Live video, let's get to it. If any of you out there do not know me, then I just want to introduce myself. My name is ANDREA Szew. I am an immigration attorney in Los Angeles, California, the managing attorney for Szew Law Group. And I've been doing immigration for about 17 years. And so wanted to start doing videos more often than not to help people be educated and help give really good, reliable, easy information about what's going on, especially right now during this pandemic that has basically rocked everybody's world, and especially the immigration world out there. And unfortunately, there has not been much talk about anything about, non-immigrants and immigrants and people sitting outside the country waiting to get appointments. No one is talking about them. So I wanted to be at least a voice to advocate for that community, but also a voice to give you updates and information directly from the sources, which is from the actual agencies who are putting out information, from the White House, from AILA, which is an American Immigration Lawyers Association, which is the biggest bar and advocate for the immigrant community, and kind of get you information out there. So if you're listening, please, and you enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe to and hit that notification bell so you know that when the next videos are going to come out and you are up to date on everything. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, we are going to talk about the latest immigration updates that are happening live off the press, the most recent that I can gather, that I've been told and been discussing with everyone in the industry. So first, we're going to talk about office closures and openings. So office closures, USCIS is closed to interviews and any kind of in-person anything that happens, so InfoPass appointments, interviews, biometrics, they are closed. The latest that we've heard is that they're going to reopen as of June 4th, the earliest they're going to open. So it's not a hard deadline that they're going to open on June 4th, but it is that is the earliest we're going to hear that they are going to possibly open. They are still accepting all applications. They are still processing all applications. They have not stopped processing. They have stopped premium processing. So there is no premium processing for anybody. So expect that and keep that in mind when you are applying for anything, that there is no expediting right now. There's only, normal processing time. And unfortunately, the normal processing time is a mystery for everybody, including me, because we had normal processing times. We can kind of always gather more or less what's going on. But with the coronavirus and the backlogs and everything else and the minimal staff that's working, we have no real idea how long things are going to take. So we need to have, all of us, a lot of patience and hope that it's not going to be delayed too much. With regard to the National Visa Center, which is the center that does most of the immigrant processing for consular outside the United States, permanent resident applications, and so on and so forth, they are, way low on staff. So they have said that they will not be corresponding with anybody after April 1st, more or less, except on emergency issues. And you have to send an inquiry, and that emergency issue is going to be like medical issues. I mean, something's really serious. They're still accepting applications. They are still processing applications, but they're just going a lot slower. So once again, just be aware that we can continue, and you should continue. You don't want to wait. You want to continue doing filings. You want to continue getting the NVC everything they request. If you're in the process of doing an immigrant application, just don't wait, because it's only going to get later and longer if you wait. Because I think that when this is all over, there's going to be a rush, and then they're going to be backlogged even more than they already were. So you want to get in that queue, and you want to get your stuff in. Consulates. What's going on with consulates abroad? Well, as you know, or you might know, all the consulates are shut down, more or less. They're still open. They are still doing work with minimal staff, but they are not doing any kind of in-person interviews except for emergencies. Key military, medical and health personnel are getting interviews or getting some kind of contact with them and getting visas issued. But more or less, if it's not a genuine emergency, you can't really get any kind of expedite or any kind of visa appointments right now. And what they mean by a true emergency, I'm reading this because I want to make sure I get it right for you guys. This means life and death situations, not pressing business necessity or family matters or elective surgery. It's pretty serious stuff that is going on that they're going to actually look at as an emergency that needs an expedite and needs an appointment. Some of them still making appointments. For example, it's all over the place. So to give you an idea, Canada, more or less all their consulates have shut down. So if you go online, it just says no appointments. It just says nothing. Where a country like Australia, some of the actual consulates, you can actually go on and make a non-immigrant visa appointment. But, we can't guarantee that they're going to keep those appointments, right? So we have had appointments made, and then they will send us an email saying that the appointment has been canceled. Please reschedule. So like in some of the consulates, I think I was just in, it was Sydney just a day ago, and there's appointments like the end of July and August. So there are appointments out there, and you can go ahead and make those appointments, but you want to make sure that you are in a state of mind that they're allowing those appointments, I think, so there's no kind of floodgate that opens once all this goes away. But be aware that, they could cancel them. So you might get an email later that says that your appointment has been canceled and please reschedule. But if you can, and you can check in your countries, the different consulates, and see if you can grab an appointment just so you're in the queue. But be aware that if you grab an appointment, they might cancel it and then you have to reschedule again. But I guess it's better to have an appointment than not. So they are still making appointments. Both the NVC and the consulates are expediting for approved I-140s for medical personnel. So if you're listening to this or watching this and you are a medical professional and you have an approved I-140 petition, please don't delay. Go ahead and contact the consulate. That is considered an emergency, and they will make an appointment for you. So it's an important note for definitely the medical industry and the healthcare workers and the frontline workers. Okay, next let's talk about policies and policy changes that have happened over the last few weeks. I-765 extensions, that's people that have work authorization forms and they've filed an extension to extend their work authorization. Usually you had to go get a fingerprint appointment to get that extension. And now they've said, and they've waived no fingerprint appointments. So if you have a 765 extension application pending, then you don't have to worry about going to get biometrics. They're just going to use the old ones. So that's good news. Very few good news these days, but that's one of the good news. No premium processing, we already talked about. There's none of that going on. So just go with normal processing times. Travel bans are still in place. The ones that Trump put in place a while back are still in place. You want to go to the website Travel.state.gov, and I'll put a lot of these websites and phone numbers and information down in the description underneath this video so you can reference it later. But if you go to Travel.state.gov, it will give you more information if you're a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident abroad and you want to get back to the United States and there's ban issues, or vice versa. So that's a good place to really go to see what's going on with the actual global bans, along with what the US's policy is at the moment that you have to travel or you're trying to get back to the United States. Another policy change is that they are thinking, or they have been slowly a little bit here and there, waiving interviews for certain adjustment of status applications for family-based and for employment-based. So if you have an adjustment of status application pending and you're waiting for your interview appointment, there is a chance that they're going to just waive that appointment. So you don't need the interview at all. Most likely it will be in cases of, child parent. It won't necessarily be cases of U.S. citizen spouse applications. So in employment, it might be just employment situations. Less need for an interview there as to interviews for good faith marriage interviews for U.S. citizens that have married alien spouses. So be aware that that could happen in your case if that is something that applies to you. No discussion at all whatsoever on anything related to extending current statuses, safe harbors for people in the US. This is a huge thorn in my side. I'm sure anyone who knows me out there knows that I get really aggravated with this whole process, with them being so silent with so many things, but most importantly, the non-immigrant community in the United States that's sitting here and they're not getting any, attention whatsoever. So there has been no word, no talk. The American Immigration Lawyers Association has filed a lawsuit against the federal government trying to push for something in this area, but we haven't heard anything yet. So we're hoping that the government will wake up and realize that there's all of you out there that are in this situation that can't leave or doesn't make sense to leave, and that they'll provide at least at the very minimum a safe harbor period. So you're in the United States, safe harbored, even if your visa's expired or you've been laid off or you passed the 60-day period once your change of circumstances has happened. But we're still waiting to see that or hear about that, and I will let you know as soon as I know. The executive order that, I don't know if maybe some of you saw the video that I did. If not, you want to go back probably to my YouTube channel and watch that video, because it goes into great depth about the actual order, what it says exactly, and who it applies to. But let me give you kind of a little synopsis of what it does say. So the executive order, it was put into effect on the 23rd of April. It's 60 days suspending immigration. But what does that mean? What it means is not what it sounds like it means. It sounds really bad, but it's bad, but it's not as bad as it sounds. So what it means is that anyone who is outside the country, who does not have a current immigrant visa in their hand and doesn't have another travel document available to them, like an advanced parole document, that immigration is suspended. Those people are suspended from entering the country as a new immigrant or getting their applications processed. So those are the group of people that it really is affecting. It's not non-immigrants. It is not anything related inside the country. So if you have an immigrant application pending in the United States, which is likely called an adjustment of status application, it does not affect you. Okay, it does not affect you at all. It only affects people that are sitting outside the United States that are pending these applications. And there are exclusions, of course. The exclusions are if you're already a permanent resident, it doesn't affect you. People that are immigrants, like healthcare providers, doesn't affect them. Spouse and children of U.S. citizens, doesn't affect them. Anyone who is coming here to further the national interest, doesn't affect them. Or people that are filing for immigrant visas under the investor program, doesn't affect them either, the EB-5 program. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. If you want more information on the executive order, please watch that video on my YouTube channel, and I will give you a lot more in-depth information about it. But on a big scheme, that's what it is about. There is one thing in there that we have to keep a close watch on, and there's a provision in that executive order that says that the government agencies involved in immigration issues are to bring to President Trump within 30 days of this executive order some information or some options to possibly limit the non-immigrant programs that are out there. And that could benefit the U.S. citizen population that's now unemployed. What does that mean? We have no idea. We have no idea. We don't know if that was just something that President Trump put into the executive order to appease certain areas or certain individuals or certain groups, but we don't know if he's really serious about getting that information and looking to limit or constrict or change certain non-immigrant visa policies. So I don't think we should get all nervous or anxious or excited about that yet, but I think it's something that we have to keep a close watch on. And I will be doing that for sure. And we'll let you all know out there if anything does happen in that area. But I think it's something that unfortunately was stuck in there and we have to wait. Now it's supposed to be 30 days, like I said, after the executive order was put into place that they're supposed to give him that information. So you would think after the 60 days, when he's thinking of renewing this executive order for another 60 days possibly, that would come out at that point, what the results of that information he received was. But we'll have to just wait and see what's going on with that. But for now, the executive order, like I said, is limited to only that very small, very big in the grand scheme of things. I shouldn't say small, but very limited group of people outside the United States right now that it's affecting. So let's now move to lost jobs and benefits. What's new in that area besides the horrific number of people that have lost jobs and have been victims economically of this pandemic worldwide? So if you have lost your job in the United States and you're on a visa, you have a 60-day grace period to leave the country. In some situations, very limited situations, during that 60 days, you can actually change employers. If you've lost your job and you find another employer to sponsor you, during that 60 days, you can possibly apply and get new employment in certain circumstances. So that 60-day grace period that you hear a lot about, don't confuse it with anything that's different than just that. It's really just 60 days that they allow for a period of time that you can collect your things and return back to your home country. Unemployment. The biggest question on many, many millions of people's minds right now is unemployment benefits. And immigrants or non-immigrants in the United States are dying to know, can they actually get unemployment benefits? Well, if it was my opinion, absolutely. Not my opinion, unfortunately, not my choice. But the rules are very state-based. They are controlled by the state agencies. It's not a federal decision that's made. Every state has their own rules. So let me just say this. If you can qualify, which there are a limited amount of people that do qualify in the world of immigrants and non-immigrants, then go ahead and do it, because it will not affect your future petitions for immigrant status in the future under the public benefit rule. It is an earned benefit, so it's not something that falls as a public charge. So it's not going to affect you for future applications. So I want you to hear that, because if you do qualify, you should go ahead and you should get it. But if you don't qualify, then you're in that big pool of people that are sitting there waiting to figure out, what other options do I have? Now, let me just say really quickly again, because I've said it in other videos, but I know it's really something that's really important to a lot of people. So let me explain one more time again, more or less, who qualifies. If you are a work authorized individual in the US with an actual work authorization card that allows you to work for anybody in the US at any time, and you've lost your job, more likely than not, you will definitely qualify for unemployment in most states. If you are an H-1B visa holder or an L visa holder or an E-3 visa holder and you've lost your job or been furloughed, it's less likely that you're going to qualify, because you're only authorized to work for the one employer that petitioned you. And when that happens, then usually you're not going to meet the qualifications for unemployment benefits, which is that, can you work for anyone at any time during the duration of you taking the unemployment benefit. So for example, if I'm taking unemployment and I get a check, if I get a call from John Bob's, store down the street, can I go work for them immediately? You can't on an H-1B or an L-1 or an E-3 or some other type visas. So you are not really meeting that qualification. With that being said, it puts everyone in a very difficult situation, because a lot of you have even paid into the system. So it's a very frustrating situation we're all in. But that's how it works right now with unemployment. If you qualify, if you're a lawful permanent resident or a conditional permanent resident, you can apply for unemployment. If you are a work authorization holder with a general work authorization card, you can apply for unemployment. If you are, let's say, a spouse of someone on an E-3, the E-3 might not be able to qualify likely, but the spouse would if they have their work authorization card, because they can work for anybody. Same with an E-2. So, everyone's in a different situation. And then on top of it, they make it extra complicated and ridiculous, because every state has their own rules. So be careful out there when applying, but just know that if you do qualify for it, then it will not affect future immigrant applications in the future. Okay, that's the unemployment discussion. One thing I do want to make very clear, though, is the federal government has stated that there's different programs out there that they have put on the table, like providing an extra $600 to unemployed individuals on top of the unemployment benefit. Now, we got to be, and there's some other ones also that I won't go into great detail about, but be very careful as a non-immigrant in the U.S. or as an immigrating person before you take federal benefits off these programs, because those are likely possibly going to affect a future application in the future under the public benefit rule, because those are public benefits provided by the federal government. So there's a big distinction I want you to understand between an unemployment benefit application filed with the local unemployment office and a federal benefit that's provided by the federal government under CARE or under any one of these acts. So be very careful when you're taking a benefit as a non-immigrant or an immigrating person, I should say. Don't just lump them all into one thing. They're very different beasts, and they're very different when it comes to distinguishing between what's going to hurt me in the future under the public benefit rules and what's not going to hurt me. Okay? So that's something big topic for everybody, I know right now, and I am doing the best I can to try to get you the information I can, but it's just a very gray area, and we just got to tread very, very lightly to make sure that we make the right decisions now that are not going to blow up in our face in a year from now or 2 years from now when this is all gone and you're actually applying for a different benefit, a different application, I should say. The Paycheck Protection Program, another one that's really big on a lot of my clients' plates right now, because we have so many businesses in the U.S. from foreign nationals that have come here on E-2 visas or different types of visas, and they want to be able to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. And they're worried, can I do that or can I not do that? And is that going to affect a future application? Well, we don't know. I mean, honestly, to be completely honest with you, we don't really know yet if that's going to affect anything. So you want to try to, show your company as strong as possible when you go to renew. And that's the whole point, that the company is supposed to be strong and be able to grow. And you, as an investor in that business, should have sufficient capital to keep it afloat. That is really the basis of an E-2 visa. So going to get help with, the Paycheck Protection Program or any other loan is going to look like the company was not as strong as it was. With that being said, though, have we ever dealt with something like this ever? No. So the consulates, when they're doing future reviews of your application, has to take that consideration. So, we can have, anyone who has an issue with this, we can have a one-on-one conversation about it to really go into your particular situation, because I think it's a very case-by-case kind of situation. But the overall thought process is that if you're here running a business in the United States and you're suffering because of the pandemic, and the business is suffering, and you're losing employees and you're losing, revenue clearly, then can you apply for that benefit? Well, if your company is going to go under and all your U.S. citizen employees are going to lose their job, unless you get that, I think it kind of answers the question. Is this temporary? That's something that you want to look at. Or is this something that if I don't do this, and I'm not going to even recover after that? That's another thing that you want to keep in the checklist of, should I take that Paycheck Protection Program benefit or not? Okay. So I think it's something that is a case by case that you really need to speak to either me, if I'm your attorney, or your own attorney, and talk to them and really talk through it and make sure that it is the best option for your particular case. Okay. Satisfactory Departure is another one that I think is important that's come up. Satisfactory Departure is for people that are here on ESTA. ESTA is the visa waiver program for people who come into the United States for 90 days and they don't need an actual visa and they come in under this program. So ESTA, you cannot extend an ESTA, you cannot change an ESTA to a different status. So you have 90 days and you got to leave. There's no real options ever. So what you need to do is look at if you can leave, you must leave before that 90 days so you don't have any risk of overstaying. But if you absolutely cannot leave the country because your flight was canceled or something happened, then you can file for something called Satisfactory Departure. And it's a big word right now because there's so many people here right now, because we're hitting that 90 days if they came in close to when all this started, that want to do that. But just be careful. I'm going to put again in the comments below, I'm going to put the information for how to get satisfactory departure. So you can all look it up and you can, investigate it. And most of the time you do it through a deferred inspection unit, which is in most airports, and you have to submit certain documentation. But let me just warn you, they're not giving it out very easily. And it's mostly for people that really cannot leave. So for example, I booked my flight, 85 days before, after I arrived, and I'm ready at the airport and they cancel my flight and I can't get another flight until after the 90 days. That's what this is really for. It's for a situation, or God forbid, you're in the hospital with coronavirus and you can't get on a plane. That's another, really important topic, or really important reason why they will issue you satisfactory departure and give you another 30 days. Now, if you can't leave after those 30-day extension, you can get another 30 days. So it's on a case-by-case basis. They want very, very detailed evidence of why you can't leave. And they're looking for those type of scenarios, either a coronavirus issue or unable to get on a flight. They're not really looking for like, oh, the flight was really expensive and I couldn't get out of here because I don't want to pay the extra money to leave. Or I really wanted to leave after, on a Saturday versus on a Monday, or this, I want to take this airline versus that airline, or I just don't want to get an airplane. They really don't like those reasons. They think that, that's not an issue or that's not a reason to get satisfactory departure. Okay. So let me, that's the basics of what's going on actually in the news, policy changes, office closings, anything that is really top of the hour of what's happened with USCIS. It feels to me like it's not that much information, in the sense of like we should have so much more information to provide. But unfortunately, they are just closed mouth and silent to so many issues that are being, brought up within the non-immigrant and the immigrant communities inside the US and worldwide. So it's a little bit frustrating, but we will go day by day and I will keep advocating. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that will too. So what I would like to do now is open it up for any questions. And I have some questions here that people have forwarded to me to deal with on this live broadcast. And also, if you have any questions, if you want to put them in the comments, either you're watching this right now or you're watching it after this is over on, back on YouTube, then please leave your questions in the comments. I do answer, I do read all the comments. I will respond to you. And let me know also, do you want me to do another Q&A? I mean, because I can do these on a regular basis if that's what will help out the community, to do them on a regular basis and just give me questions and we can go through the answers online, live, to get you the information that you need, so you don't have to be searching the internet to get maybe information that's not so reliable, or it's a friends of friends of friends told a friend what the answer is, and then you don't want to go by that. So please, leave me comments. Either right now, you can leave some comments if you want me to answer some of those questions now, if I have some time, or we can do, other Q&As. Leave me a message, send me a comment. Let me know how this went. Was this good for you? Did this help? Did this give you proper information? Did it help, answer the questions that you already had, or do you have a million more? So let's go ahead and answer a few that I did get before. So one of them is, my company may be furloughing me, which I understand on the E3 visa is not an option. So what if I opt to take the time off without pay myself? Can I do that? Well, if you are taking the time off and it's within the parameters of your company's policy, employment policy, you can do that and it's fine. You can take a certain amount of time off without it being an issue for your labor certification or you're risking your visa. As long as it is your choice and you're taking it for a valid reason that's within the protocols and policies of your company's business, right? It's what was allowed for you to do, or any other employee that works there for you to do, take a leave of absence. So if you do it on yourself, then yes, it's not going to fall under that you have now, lost your visa status or you violated the LCA. So the answer to that is it is allowed. Another question is, my questions are, of course, personal. Of course, we know they are. Do you think that O1 visas and performance visas will become impossible to get soon? Do you think when I'm trying to get another one, will I be able to get it? So my answer to that question is, I don't know the answer 100%. I don't know the answer ever 100% because I can never tell you exactly what's going to happen. But I will tell you this, and I stick by this, the visa options are the visa options. And if you qualify for those options, like in an O1, if you are extraordinary and you have work in the United States that is for an extraordinary person like yourself, then there is no reason that you should be denied or it should be harder. If you qualify, you qualify. So I don't think it's going to be any harder, in my opinion. But if there are programs that are limited because of what's happening with coronavirus and what the unemployment is in the country, then I think, there could be changes or there could be, the limitations. But I will tell you, in the world of the O1, I find it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to imagine how that particular visa would be affected at all by this. Because we're dealing with the top of the industry people in every facet: science, technology, engineering, entertainment. We're talking about the top of the top. So how can you make the argument that that needs to be limited when the average person who's unemployed would never be able to step in those shoes? So I don't think even the argument makes any sense whatsoever for them to limit or change the O1 criteria or make it more difficult to get. But I will tell you, if you don't qualify, you're not going to get it. Like it or not, now or before or in the future. If you don't qualify, you don't qualify. And I know I've always gone by a standard in my office that we don't file any O application unless I can be 100% behind it and that person truly is extraordinary, in my opinion, based on the required criteria. So if I file an O, they better be approved because I truly believe they're extraordinary and they meet the criteria. I'm not trying to create someone who's extraordinary. They are extraordinary. So if you are held to that standard, then I don't think anything should change. I don't think that we can even argue for a second that someone who's unemployed can jump in to be in Cirque du Soleil or another show in Vegas or anywhere else in the world that, was doing some other job. It's not a job in the extraordinary world that you can just jump into. Extraordinary people are usually one of a kind or at the very top and been doing it for years and years and very hard to replace, if not impossible. So to answer your question, don't think it's going to change too much. Okay. The next question is, are we going to get any kind of notification when appointments start popping back up in the consulates? I don't think we're going to get any notification of particular consulates around the world. I think it's going to be that there'll be an announcement or there'll be a statement by the Department of State saying that consulates are now, doing in-person interviews. Well, I should say we hope that we get that announcement, right? Because sometimes we don't even know if we're going to get any announcements. We have to kind of search for that information. But what I will tell you is that I don't think we're going to get any, I don't think that the consulate in Vancouver is going to email everyone and say, okay, now you can go ahead and make an appointment because we canceled your other one. I think, it's on us to stay on top of that. But I do believe that there will be an announcement on some level by the Department of State saying, or the Department of Homeland Security in general, saying that, interviews have, resumed, that you can go ahead and get interviews. Otherwise, I am being vigilant with my clients. We go on regularly and make appointments that we can make, and we check in with the consulates where we can to get an update of what's going on with particular consulates that we're dealing with on a regular basis. So I think it's more, we just have to check back once in a while and see what's going on. But hopefully when the floodgates open and appointments become available and the consulates start getting back to normal, whatever that's going to be, then we will find out at that time what the situation is. Okay, I think we have time for a couple more. Another one is E2s. So E2s, I think, are feeling a little bit ignored in this whole world. Well, all non-immigrants are feeling a little bit ignored right now in this world that we're living in, but especially I think the E2s, because I think they're struggling from a side of like, well, I'm a business owner and I'm responsible for all these other people, but at the same time, I have my own work visa, which is the E2. So I think it's a unique situation as opposed to someone who is on an H-1B or an E3 or a P1 or an O1, where they're responsible for themselves. An E2, which is an investor visa, someone who is here as an investor. I'm not talking about E2s that are managers or executives underneath the investor, but the ones that are investors, I think, are struggling a bit right now too with not knowing what to do because they don't want to lose or affect all their other employees, but at the same time, they're concerned about their own status. So I think it's kind of like a yin yang kind of, what do? I want to protect them, but I also don't want to hurt myself in the future. So like I said earlier in this video, I think it's a case-by-case basis. I think that every particular business has to make a decision based on where they are, how long away are they from renewing their application. Is it like, did I just get a new visa, a new E2, and I have 4 years or 5 years before I go in again? I think you have a lot more leeway of what you can do and the options you have than a business that unfortunately is ready to renew right now in a month. So I think that it's a case-by-case basis. Part of the other question is, can they remove an E2 if you do not open again, or open but rehire less employees? Well, if it would come up, they won't remove your E2, they won't like destroy your E2 or take it back. What they'll do really is they would, on the renewal, they would look at it and they would see what's going on. And remember, most E2 renewals, you're filing with bank statements and balance sheets and payroll information. So they look at the totality of everything that's going on in the last few years. So if they see a dip during the pandemic, I think it's only natural, I would hope, for them to understand that that was just unprecedented moment in time that doesn't reflect the full extent of what the company is capable of after the pandemic of recovering. So I think, the consuls are going to have to really sit back and decide how they're going to review these applications. But can they just take them away midstream? No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to take away your E2. It would come up really on a renewal application. Let me see if there's also yeah, and he's saying, is there an exception going to happen for E2s? And that really applies to any visa out there. Is there going to be an exception for anybody because of this situation? Talking about, I might as well throw in there what other people have asked me continuously is, I'm here on a visa and I overstay. Is there going to be exception because of the pandemic and because of the coronavirus situation? Are they going to forgive that? Are they going to forgive an E2 if the balance sheet has a huge dip and then it's not back yet before you're going to renew? Well, I think I'm at a loss of words, right? I think that there will be some level of exceptions. There's got to be some kind of empathy that goes along with making decisions going forward with regard to visa applications and overstays and stuff. But I will tell you right now, I'm pretty conservative and I'm pretty above board with everything that I do in my office and my practice. And I would really tread lightly on going on the assumption that there's going to be leniency on certain issues because of what's going on with coronavirus. I think it goes a lot to the dynamic and the directive from above down that is not very pro-immigrant right now in the United States. So I think that we need to, for now, we don't know what's going to happen in the next election, but we'll see. For now, we don't know what's going to happen. But I would go on the assumption that it's going to be, not forgiven than to be forgiven. So with that being said, beware of your timelines, be aware of trying to limit the amount of benefits that you take, if anything, during this. If you're a business owner, step back and try to make decisions based on the big picture and not the micro the micro period we're in right now, even though I know that is so hard for me to say because I'm living it with all of you. But I just think that, for example, if you've lost your job and you're thinking, well, I'll just stay here until I get another one. But I can't really, change my status, but I don't want to leave yet. And I know that I could be here maybe, up to 6 months without being barred from coming back. I'll just do that. Well, I think you need to really think about it thoroughly before you do something like that, because we don't want to make, quick decisions about things that are going to maybe be good for us in the short run, but are going to destroy our plans for the long run. So we want to make sure that when we make our decisions, we're looking at what are our ultimate plans going to be? What do we want to accomplish over the next years? And not make decisions based on, the fear and the anxiety that we're feeling right now in this time, especially as immigrants and non-immigrants. We need to sit back, take a deep breath, and really advocate for ourselves what's going to work for us now, and what are we going to make a decision on that's not going to hurt us when we come to the end of the line and we want to maybe apply for permanent residency or renew our visa or get another E2 visa or apply, do something else. We want to make sure that we're not going to destroy that opportunity by making short-range decisions right now. Okay, with that being said, I hope that all of you are safe out there. I hope that you're not going too crazy with the stay-at-home orders around the world. It's an unprecedented time for all of us worldwide. It's not just the US. And, I'm sitting here in the US. I'm really trying to advocate for the community and try to get you as much information as I can. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're notified every time new videos are coming out, which I'm trying to do as many as I can to get the information out fast and give you good, reliable, honest information about what's going on now, and also just on regular immigration stuff, because we're all going to go back to normal. We all got to know how to do these things and the ins and outs of the whole system, which is changing, feels like on an hourly basis, but on a very quick basis. So please, subscribe and click that bell so you're notified. I hope that you all stay safe. Don't forget to also check down below in the description. I'm going to put a bunch of information there, links that you can go to get some of the information I talked about Satisfactory Departure and some other items you want to get your hands on. Please do not hesitate to put comments if you're watching this after, because I know a lot of you were going to watch it after this is over. So please put comments. Let me know if you like this, if this was helpful. If you want me to do more, if you have questions and you want me to do just a Q&A, happy to do a Q&A and we can get more questions answered as opposed to me just giving you an update. Give me information, give me feedback, and also, any questions that you have, please put them in the comments, because I read them all and I'll answer them all. Okay? It was wonderful spending this time with you. Please stay safe, and I look forward to talking to you all next time.